enters this hotel conference room in Hartford, Connecticut with a security team that rivals a head of state. An adoring audience greets him with calls of daddy and sings his praises. He is 60-year-old Jose Luis de Jesus Miranda from Puerto Rico, a preacher, an evangelist to be sure, but to his followers and in his own eyes, he's more than a man of God. Just ask him.
I'm Jesus Christ's man in front of you.
That's right. He says he is the second coming. He claims in 1973 he had an epiphany.
When Jesus, the resurrected Jesus, came to me, he integrated himself within me.
So why you?
I don't know.
In the mid-'80s, Miranda started his own ministry called Creciendo en Gracia, or Growing in Grace. It's a religious movement that claims a presence in more than 20 countries, mostly in Central and South America, but also in the United States. From Hartford to his headquarters in Miami, he says there are more than 30 teaching centers nationwide.
We don't give membership cards. So I don't know how many I have, but certainly are millions. Every week we grow.
And with a 24-hour cable channel, netcasts of his sermons and radio programs, Miranda is out to spread the word. Those who believe him, like these followers in Miami, the Son of Man is back, also embrace his unique interpretation of the Bible. For example, sin no longer exists.
God doesn't see you as a sinner. For me, you are a perfect spirit.
There's also no such thing as the devil.
Satan is a Hollywood character.
As for prayer, he says it's a waste of time, and he calls all other religious leaders liars.
The lies began in Rome. I'm against all those teachings from Catholic, Protestant, evangelicals. They're not teaching the right gospel.
His followers say Miranda is the only one telling the truth, and that his teachings have set them free.
I thank him so much for being able to look myself in the mirror and knowing that I'm seeing him in me and that I could literally love myself.
But one common church practice that Miranda doesn't dismiss is the use of the collection plate. Do people have to pay to be part of this?
No.
They do have to donate.
They make donations according to the Bible, you know, the tithing.
The Bible asks for 10% tithing.
Yeah.
But your followers do much more than that.
Because of the...
They give their companies, they give their...
Oh, they give everything.
His most generous followers have even given him cars and estates, including a home inside this gated community, which Miranda recently sold for close to $1 million. So you don't have a problem with material wealth?
Everybody should be rich.
One who is giving his share of riches to Miranda is Alvaro Albarracin, a successful web entrepreneur. He says he owes everything to Miranda, and his donations have topped 7 figures.
I'm putting all my money and heart that this is the truth.
But Albarracin's relationship with Miranda has cost him personally. He's estranged from his family.
How many years has it been since you've spoken with him? 4.
Regina Albarracin says her son severed ties after they suggested he was being brainwashed by Miranda and his teachings.
It's not healthy for people. It's not good for people. It's not good for families. Many families, he destroyed many families.
Other religious leaders say Miranda may be capable of destroying much more.
I think any group whose leader says, I am God, and you have to listen to me and follow me because I am God, that group is very dangerous for our society.
Father Albert Coutier says he and members of his congregation in Miami have been harassed by Miranda's followers.
Well, I think that their tactics are strange. And what I've experienced personally is aggression, screaming.
In fact, Growing in Grace admits it has launched a protest campaign against other religions, like this peaceful one in Miami. But other gatherings have become more confrontational. Is there any limit to what your followers will do for you?
Well, we try to do it very politely. You know, something might get out of hand once in a while because, you know, some people, they fight back.
Do you encourage that, though?
I encourage to march for the truth.
All this has led some to worry that growing in grace may be a new cult.
Growing in grace does appear to fit the primary criteria of a destructive cult. An absolute authoritarian leader, a process of persuasion that can be seen as brainwashing, and then finally, exploitation of the members.
If it's a cult, it's the best cult I ever seen. This is a nice cult. I'm proud to lead a cult like this because I'm teaching the truth.
Playing it from a different angle as it slammed into the
Calling the prophet who profits. 20 years ago, Peter Popoff was a televangelist who just declared bankruptcy after his preaching methods were exposed as a fraud. Now our Inside Edition investigation reveals he's back, and as Matt Mahar reports, his style of living is better than ever.
Lord, let this anointing and power flow through our sister now.
He claims he's a healer, that the power of God flows through him and can cure whatever ails you.
Brand new!
He's the televangelist Peter Popoff, appearing on infomercials seen across the country. He claims he can perform miracles.
What happened to the pain? It's gone.
And Popoff doesn't just heal your body. He says he can heal your wallet, too.
I'll never be broke another day in my life. Say it again.
But this isn't the first time Popoff's been on television. 2 decades ago, on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, Popoff was exposed as a fraud.
And we picked up something interesting.
The expose was carried out by this man, well-known skeptic James Randi. Popoff claimed God spoke directly to him, and he seemed to know everything about the people attending his crusades, including their health problems.
Burning this arthritis right out of your body.
But Randy took a scanner to some of Popoff's crusades and picked up radio transmissions. Turns out the voice Popoff heard wasn't God's, but his wife's.
I'm talking to you. Can you hear me? If you can't, you're in trouble.
You see, Popoff's wife, Elizabeth, had previously gotten personal information from people in the audience and then fed it to her husband electronically through a tiny earpiece.
Jody Dean.
Jody? Dean? Jody Dean?
No, she should be right there on your right side. Okay, she lives at 4267 Masterson.
4267 Masterson. I can see the angels of God all around your house.
That's disturbing when you see it.
After the scam was exposed, Popoff dropped out of sight and declared bankruptcy in 1987.
I'm gonna throw this, Walker.
But that was then, and this is now. Woo! Popoff is back, and business is better than ever. He operates out of this giant facility east of Los Angeles. According to tax returns, Popoff's ministry took in more than $23 million in 2005. He paid himself more than $600,000. He paid about $600,000 more to his wife and 2 kids. He drives this $100,000 Porsche, and he lives in this home worth $2.1 million. Where does all the money for this lavish lifestyle come from? Well, people who watch Popoff shows are encouraged to send away for his free Miracle Spring Water.
And that's why I want you to have the Miracle Spring Water.
But is it really free? Our Miracle Water came with what Popoff calls a bag of sacred Dead Sea salt. I'm supposed to sprinkle it over a check made out to Popoff for $27. It's really just a tiny package of salt that you would get at a deli or fast food restaurant. As for the miracle water, I'm supposed to drink it, wait 5 days, and I'll be blessed with riches. Of course, I'm supposed to send Popoff another check.
You see, it's not the water that releases the power. It's your obedience to the instructions of the prophet of God.
Kathy Rowe and her disabled husband, Donald, fell for Popoff's pitch.
Surely God
would see our pain and bless us.
They borrowed thousands of dollars from relatives, saying they were going to pay their bills, but instead, they sent it to Popoff, $4,500 in all.
I just look back on it and think, you know, I'm a pretty stupid person.
We wanted to ask Popoff a few questions. Reverend Popoff?
Yes. Matt Mahar with Inside Edition. Could I ask you a few questions about your ministry? Hey, you're squeezing me.
Sorry.
How can you justify taking all of this money from people that are desperate? Can you just answer us one question?
Can you just move away, please?
Would you talk to us later, please?
No.
James Randi says he's not surprised that Popoff is back.
Flim-flam is his profession. That's what he does best. He's very good at it, and naturally he's going to go back to it.
Kathy Rowe, the lady you met, says she only stopped sending Popoff money 2 months ago when she had no money left for food. She says she now feels that she was brainwashed by watching Popoff on television.
We want to get right to breaking news. An earthquake has rattled New England. Did you feel it? The U.S. Geological Survey says the 4.0 magnitude quake was centered about 3 miles west of Hollis Center, Maine, seen right here on the Pinpoint News Tracker.
It hit just before 7:30, and soon after, our newsroom was flooded with calls from people who felt it right here in Rhode Island. Eyewitness News reporter Catherine Sotnick went out to get reaction, and she joins us live from the mobile newsroom with all the breaking details.
Yeah, and word of this earthquake spread extremely fast on social networking sites like Facebook and Twitter, and many people here in Rhode Island, well, they didn't even know what was happening at first.
Yeah, that spice rack started shaking.
Sandra Christensen and Susan Michaud of Riverside, just two of the many in Rhode Island Tuesday night who felt the quake.
We were sitting on the couch watching the debate, and all of a sudden the couch started shaking, and our cats, their ears went up in the air.
I felt the couch shaking, the floor shaking. I thought the cat was behind me doing something crazy.
The U.S. Geological Survey says the epicenter of the 4.0 magnitude earthquake was about 20 miles west of Portland, Maine. A former TV colleague of mine who lives just north of Portland told me about it by phone.
Literally felt the house shake. To the point, I was just sort of in and out of consciousness. I thought, is this a dream? I thought maybe my husband was doing something in the backyard.
Landline phone service in Maine was also spotty immediately after.
Other than that first initial phone call that I was able to make out, I haven't been able to get any phone calls in or out.
But instantly, word spread on social media, including Facebook. On our WPRI page, some of the comments were felt in Johnston, felt in Attleboro, and felt it good in Coventry. And we've also learned that this quake was felt as far south as Connecticut. At this point, there's no immediate reports of any substantial damage. Reporting live tonight with the Providence Mobile Newsroom, I'm Catherine Sotnick, Eyewitness News.
Pinpoint Doppler 12 has been tracking the earthquake's effects.
Chief Meteorologist Tony Petrarca joins us with more on the tremor. Tony.
Well, actually, it's fairly common in New England as far as earthquakes in the northeastern United States. We actually average 40 to 50 per year. Now, most of the time, they're very, very weak. Every now and then, one will create a bit of a fuss, like the one up in Hollis, Maine. The epicenter located just outside of Portland, Maine. Now, the mechanism that creates quakes here in New England, completely different than out in California, where you have places like the San Andreas Fault, where the Earth's crust acts almost like a jigsaw puzzle, where plates kind of rub together. Different here in New England, but take a look. Now, we measure quakes on the Richter scale. This magnitude was 4.0, but we also measure how deep below the Earth's surface the quake was located, and this was considered a shallow quake, located about 4 miles below ground. And how deep or shallow the quake is will determine how far out the tremors are felt. And in this case, it was felt from many, many miles away from the Portland, Maine area, as far south as Long Island, New York. And to give you an idea, the activity in New England and the northeastern United States, every red dot represents some seismic activity since 1975. And you see there are a lot of red dots, so it is fairly common in New England. Most of the time, though, the quakes tend to be very, very weak. We'll take a closer look at the forecast, the 7-day outlook. Mother Nature's been pretty busy. All that data coming up.
If you thought you felt the earth move all around Kentuckiana today, you'd be right. The U.S. Geological Survey confirms a 4.3 magnitude earthquake centered just west of Whitesburg, Kentucky, right around noon today. That is in Letcher County in the southeastern part of the state. Some minor damage is now being reported. WHS 11's Chelsea Rabideau has reaction to the quake tonight. And Chelsea, we were just inundated with emails and things on Twitter and things on Facebook as well.
Yeah, it seems like the big question today is, did you feel the earthquake? It was, in fact, the second largest earthquake in Kentucky history. It was still a very minor earthquake, but it did send shockwaves all the way up to Indiana and Ohio and all the way down to Georgia. Unexpected twist on a Saturday afternoon. Just after 12 o'clock, a 4.3 magnitude earthquake shook the ground. It was about 8 miles west of Whitesburg in southeastern Kentucky. Immediately, people took to Facebook to report rumblings even all the way up into Indiana. On our Facebook page, one woman said her entire house and the furniture in it was shaking. It also knocked some things off shelves at Amanda Nash Kirby's house in Valley Station. 2 other women also felt tremors in Hodgenville and Campbellsville. Others had no clue.
I did not feel the earthquake, no.
My roommate watched the TV and that's what he said. Did you know there was an earthquake here?
So you heard about it, but you didn't feel it?
Right.
No. Did you feel any shaking? No. Are you surprised to hear that there was an earthquake?
Yeah.
No, I did not.
Did you hear about it?
I did on Facebook.
We spoke to a professor of geology from U of L, and he said while the earthquake was very minor, it is important to study what triggered it and how often earthquakes are happening in that region.
In that sense, whatever happens in that region is interesting in terms of the frequency of occurrence of these earthquakes.
Now, there are reports of some minor damage in Hazard, Kentucky. We're hearing reports of water and gas lines being ruptured, but thankfully no injuries being reported just yet. Reporting live in downtown Louisville, Chelsea Rabideau, WHAS 11 News.
Country, an earthquake in Canada has now triggered a tsunami warning for parts of Alaska. The earthquake was a magnitude 7.7. We are monitoring the situation and we'll bring you more as we learn it again. An earthquake up in Canada has triggered a tsunami here in parts of Alaska.
It's a mystery that's caused a real flap in this part of Arkansas, with many wondering what's happened to these birds.
About 10:30, I come out here and seen a bird drop.
I just immediately called Mom because I had to go to work, and I said, you've got to come get the kids and get the dog because I don't know what's going on, but I don't want them messing with any of them. It was horrible. You could not even get down the road without running over hundreds. It was that bad.
Thousands of them started raining down just as locals were getting ready to celebrate the new year. They've spent the start of 2011 cleaning them up.
Started at 7 o'clock and picking up birds on the street, in the yards. It's been run over and just a mess.
So, spooky omen or natural causes? Well, that's what these teams are now trying to work out. They've flown over the area to test the air and say that's all clear, but not everyone is convinced.
Walking around in masks, and I'm wondering, do we need the same thing? Because what makes that happen for them just to drop out of the sky like that?
I asked these guys who was out here picking them up, and they don't seem to know anything. Nobody knows anything. Just kind of freaked everybody out.
Lightning, hail and fireworks are some of the causes that experts are now looking into as they try and figure out what's caused this bolt out of the blue, and residents of all sizes will be waiting to hear their answers. Rhiannon Mills, Sky News.
Thousands of dead fish to wash ashore along Galveston Island. This was the scene on Jamaica Beach today, and many there say that they have never seen anything like it. Thousands of dead fish line the sand of Jamaica Beach Sunday.
No, this is pretty wild. I heard that there were some dead fish in the sea or in the water, but I didn't know it would be this bad on the beach.
Jamaica Beach police say the fish washed up all across the island overnight.
I grew up in this county for, the last 50 years, and I've never seen anything like it. Apparently it doesn't happen often.
Although it makes for an unusual sight and smell at the beach, experts say fish kills are not entirely uncommon. Officials with the Texas Parks and Wildlife say fish kills are often blamed on, among other things, environmental changes, and the heat could be the culprit in this case. Experts say the jump in temperature over the last few days has lowered the oxygen in the water, which in turn likely killed the fish. while the tide caused them to wash ashore en masse all across the island.
And there's some other dead fish, but mostly all shad.
Officials say this type of fish is highly susceptible to the elements and wouldn't be able to survive the low oxygen levels brought on by the heat. And police tell us although the fish don't present much danger to people, they are advising beachgoers to keep their distance until the city can safely remove them. That cleanup is expected to get underway first thing tomorrow morning.
There's a huge problem this morning on Galveston Island.
Thousands of dead fish are washing up on the beach. Vacationers and ecologists want to know why. So we sent KHOU 11 News reporter Larry Seward to find out.
What's a day at the beach?
What's the deal, Nina?
Without scenery.
I was surprised when I saw that many fish on the shore.
But this sea of shad stretched across Jamaica Beach as far as the eye can see
smells like dead fish.
Made Mark Gannon's family pause.
I hope it's nothing major. I hope the water's safe.
Is there any idea what it is?
And at nighttime, the waves pull up really far, so the fish can't handle that, so they get up on the shore.
Kids tried to explain the problem, but
the answer is not simple. In fact, it's scientific. That's where Texas Parks and Wildlife comes in.
It looks like the oxygen's pretty good right here. So.
Biologist Stephen Mitchell is studying water samples in Surfside and Galveston, analyzing pH, saline, and oxygen levels, trying to figure out why schools of shad are dying.
And when something's affecting one of them, then usually they're all getting affected at the same time because they're in such a big group together.
He suspects low oxygen is to blame, but he won't know for sure for a few days. He says there's no threat to beachgoers, but
because I imagine as it gets warmer, the smell will get stronger, and then we will likely want to go home.
On Jamaica Beach, Larry Seward, KHOU 11 News.
Missing. That was the quote. Buildings are missing. And we're seeing that. We're seeing those live reports where there's just nothing left.
This tornado cut a 5 to 7 mile path through the heart of Tuscaloosa, home to the University of Alabama. The tornado bypassed the university campus but did not spare neighborhoods, businesses just a half-mile away. The tornado itself was a mile wide at times, and the city's mayor is absolutely stunned, calling the destruction catastrophic.
We're looking at day 5 of this disaster. The death toll now 342 in the 7 affected states. More than 100,000 people here in Alabama still do not have power. Among the many, many victims, children, so many children. So we sat down with several groups of children to get their take on this disaster.
I heard a lot of noise. The whole house was shaking.
And it was trees everywhere, the front of the yard, the backyard, wires and stuff everywhere.
Everywhere you look in the sea of destruction here, you see signs that the victims include so many children. Toys, tiny shoes, a crib. These children are now homeless and staying at a shelter.
And our house just started shaking.
Shaking. Were you scared when this happened?
100% scared.
100% scared.
I didn't never know that something was going to happen like this. I never know that we'll be in a situation like this.
Isaac, when you were hearing it going over, what were you thinking to yourself?
I was thinking God was going to protect us.
Why do tornadoes happen?
I don't know. I was asking my mom and dad about that. They didn't know either.
Why do you think this happened?
Some people say the reason why it happened because, like, God is sending us a message.
The fierce storm tore through businesses and homes. Some residents were fortunate enough to receive warning.
And a Fox News alert to begin happening now on Hurricane Sandy. That storm already slamming Cuba. Now we have brand new tracking, which shows where this massive system might be headed next. And it is not good news for those who live in the northeastern United States. Janice Dean has the latest from the Extreme Weather Center. What's going on, JD?
If this track comes true, it is the worst case scenario, John. Now, we still have days to go and a lot of information to kind of input into this tracking. But right now, this storm looks like it's going to be headed for millions of people. It's going to be a transitioning system, meaning that perfect storm type scenario. A tropical storm that transitions into an extratropical storm because a cold front, a very powerful Arctic cold front, is going to interact with the system and draw it in towards the northeast, a very rare meteorological situation. So this could be historic, folks. If you live across the East Coast, from the mid-Atlantic up to Maine and eastern Canada, you need to be paying very, very close attention to your local forecast. Still a Category 2. We just got the 11 o'clock advisory. It was a Category 3 major hurricane overnight, so it rapidly intensified within hours. Take a look at the latest track. As you can see, Category 2 moving through the Bahamas. It hugs the coast Friday into Saturday, but look at what happens as we head into early next week. The worst case scenario right now, moving right into millions upon millions of people. And this could cause extensive, catastrophic damage. I'm not just standing here making this stuff up. I want people to really pay attention to this because, again, this could be worst case scenario. At any rate, we're dealing with high seas, rip currents, beach erosion, coastal flooding, certainly storm surge as this storm moves on shore. The exact point or location where it's going to move on shore still not known yet, and the exact strength still not known yet. But we are going to see torrential rain and flooding inland, high winds, 60, 80 miles per hour, significant power outages that could last for weeks for millions of people, and down trees. John, we've still got foliage on the trees, and winds in excess of 60, 70, 80 miles per hour is going to cause extensive damage. I just want to show you one of our reliable forecast models. It is really becoming apparent that we are going to be dealing with a system that is going to come onshore. Again, anywhere from the mid-Atlantic towards Maine. Need to be paying attention. But John, our mouths dropped at the latest tracking that shows this system going right into New York City. Obviously, we've got days ahead to really hone in and get this forecast right, but people need to be paying attention. We do think that this storm is going to come on shore, and it's going to cause a lot of damage.
And it's a big, broad storm, too. So even as it skirts up the coast, it's going to be dumping a lot of rain and wind on people.
Because it's transitioning into, you know the movie The Perfect Storm? It's a transitioning storm from a tropical to an extratropical. And what that means is the wind span is going to be greater. Winds, tropical storm force winds extending 300, 400 miles from the center of this storm.
Wow.
It's going to be a battering storm affecting one of the, the largest city in the nation.
Wow. Janice Dean, thank you. And I know you'll have more on that throughout the hour. Thank you, Janice.
You bet.
In North Jersey, people are scrambling to bounce back from the devastating impact of Sandy. The storm has sparked chaos in some communities as people grow desperate for gas, power, and hot water. Phil Lipoff with our sister station WABC has that story.
State police called in for crowd control to direct traffic and keep people safe. Tempers are flaring here on the turnpike with lines that stretch a mile that take hours to navigate.
I needed gas just to get here.
The desperation is everywhere. It's bad enough most people are without power, some without hot water too. But when there's virtually no gas to be had, you get this.
She's trying to get in? Yes, she's trying to get in. She was asking everybody. I was watching everybody.
And she called you a name because you wouldn't let her in.
Yeah, I said, hey, you got to get online.
Let's go. So we chased after her.
There's one line here.
Everybody here is going for gas. This whole line. She says she was only going for food, but a lot of people have used that excuse today. We saw so many people try to cut the line, you can't blame others for getting angry.
Look, then you have this happening. He's trying to get in, nobody's letting him in, and they start arguing.
We don't have enough leaks to put what they said on TV, but you get the idea. It's bad. Everyone is dealing with stress, personal loss, and that is not a good mix. But some people, like Kathy Smichael, have a cup half full kind of attitude, even if her tank is half empty.
But you still got a smile on your face.
Hey, what are you going to do? You know, I'm breathing.
And that certainly is a great attitude to have, especially when the line is this long. It has been this long, and it will continue to be this long. AAA says 60% of the gas stations here in New Jersey are not functioning right now for two reasons: either no power or no gas, or a combination of the both. Governor Christie says gas is on the way, but for people sitting in this line, it can't happen fast enough. In Ridgefield, New Jersey, Phil Lipoff, Channel 6 Action News.
It's 3:35 in the morning, and I keep hearing this noise that wakes me up. This is the third night in a row. I hope this is recording loud enough. There is nothing out here. Lights are coming on all over the neighborhood. Apparently everybody else is hearing it too. stand here and see how long it lasts. Okay, maybe not.
Okay, so when I came up here to get the footage I was going to get today, I was encountered by a very weird sound. There's downtown, about 6 miles away, but I have no idea what the sound is. It sounds like it's coming out of the sky. It literally, I don't know where to point the camera because it's literally coming from the sky. So I don't even know how to describe it. I'm hoping this camera's picking it up. But it sounds like it's like reflecting off the sky. Weirdest fucking thing I've heard in a while. I've never heard a sound like that here. It sounds like it's going up and then coming back down. Like it sounds like it's going real high and then coming back down. We do have a cloud cover, so I don't know, I guess there could be something above the clouds, but I can't even pinpoint where it's at. It just sounds like the whole sky is making noise. Well, I'm gonna go find out what this is.
Okay, we've never seen pictures like this before from NASA. Amazing video of what looks like tornadoes on the sun.
Signs in the heavens and the earth.
And what we're seeing is that these events continue one after another.
There's been a lot of buzz over the last few weeks about strange sounds being heard in the atmosphere. People around the world and here at home have reported hearing some bizarre noises.
Some strange noises heard around the world the last few weeks, from Arizona to England and right next door in Manitoba, all showing folks alarmed by what sounds like a noise straight out of a science fiction flick.
Watching a scary movie. The background noise gives you the feeling that something terrible is about to happen.
Strange, mild sound. It seems like it's coming from the sky, anyway.
I've heard that Jesus is coming back. I've heard that it's 2012, the world is ending.
This phenomenon stretched beyond North Battleford. Similar experiences were reported in Saskatoon, northern Saskatchewan, and parts of the U.S., even in Europe.
Sonidos muy similares a estos.
I've never seen this before. Are you doing video?
I have never seen this before, and I'm doing video. That's
Can
correct.
we please send it to James Spann and the Weather Channel?
That we are in the birth bank. Something is going on. We are in unprecedented, uncharted waters.
بالمجرى ومصدرها وتحديد نوعيتها، وبيبين صادر لاحقا عن الوزير المصدر مجرور مقفل ويرجح أن يكون
A terrible mystery gripping the world right now. Birds, fish, and all kinds of creatures just dropping dead.
For the second year on New Year's Eve, birds are falling from the sky in Beebe.
A mystery in Beebe, Arkansas. Birds falling dead from the sky on New Year's Eve for the second year in a row. Wildlife officials say
No one knows how these dolphins died, but hundreds have been found on beaches in Chiclayo, Peru. At least 260 dolphins washed ashore across a roughly 60-mile stretch of beach. Officials aren't sure what happened to them. An event like this is particularly unusual because dolphins aren't normally found in these seas.
Everywhere you look, you see the carcass of a dead turtle. Small turtles, large turtles, dozens of them dead and scattered along the banks of Smith Lake.
The birds just started falling from the sky.
This is really weird. Hundreds of birds literally just dropped from the sky and then landed on I-95, bringing traffic there to a crawl.
But earlier today, a lot of confusion and concern when birds which were flying in the sky started to crash to the pavement.
There were hundreds of them.
Never ever in my life have I seen anything like this. Crazy. Totally crazy.
Never seen it. I travel this all the time.
But I haven't heard of anything locally like that, ever.
Birds, fish, and all kinds of creatures just dropping dead.
Couldn't figure out what the heck happened. Never seen anything like it.
Something strange has happened in the skies above Britain. Police throughout Scotland and the north of England received calls of a bright light streaking across the sky on Saturday night.
These images over Harrogate, but there have been sightings across the country from Scotland, Wales, the north, right down to the East Midlands.
It was what observers are calling one of the best meteors ever seen in the UK. The object was seen as far south as Devon and may have landed in the English Channel.
Dozens of viewers have said they've seen a massive bright light in the sky in the last few hours, with most claiming it was a meteor.
You'll be hearing a lot about this next item over the next 11 months, but astronomers have identified a new asteroid about 150 feet across, which is headed our way and may come so close to Earth that it will pass between us and the satellites orbiting in space above us. There's some debate in the scientific community about whether a direct hit is even possible. This is called 2012 DA-14. They say this will be the closest pass of an asteroid in the history of tracking such things. And again, while this pass is supposed to miss us, the experts all say there's nothing wrong with making sure your affairs are in order.
So should we be nervous about this whole thing?
Well, this is a serious story because the latest round of solar flares captured in this incredible video. Take a look at this. It's from NASA overnight. The burst that you're seeing there, charged particles erupting off the surface of the sun. And we saw an even bigger solar flare Tuesday night. Right now, all of those particles are racing toward the Earth, as you said, about 4 million miles per hour. And it's growing as it gets closer to us. On top of that, the problems will arise when the flares reach the Earth's magnetic field, apparently. That's when we could see mass power.
It's like a cloud of birds, but a giant cloud.
It's really creepy. It's kind of like, is the world coming to an end here or something? I mean, it's scary.
The whole sky will fill up with black birds. But it's crazy. It's scary, ain't it?
How many do you think?
Like a million. It's like we're being held hostage.
Held hostage in maybe a 3-mile radius by blackbirds. When it comes down, it sounds like rain coming down. I mean, literally, from inside of our apartment, you think that it's raining outside.
What a sight this is. Thousands of dolphins swarm a whale-watching boat off the coast of Orange County.
You're looking at hundreds upon hundreds of dolphins breaching out of the water. The unusual spectacle was caught on tape.
Trying to figure out what caused that flash in the sky in the Northwest Valley. It happened this morning, right here. If you haven't seen it, here we go. During Andrea's traffic report, look, we're going to slow it down for you right there. Look in the background. Looks like some kind of very bright light, almost like it was an explosion or something. Our first thought was maybe a transformer. But we checked with APS and SRP. They said they haven't had any trouble. We haven't had any reports of any explosions either. Here it is one more time for you in slow-mo. So it is still a mystery.
Here it comes. Okay, I think we need to leave.
Take it away from us, Lord. Take it, Lord. Take it, Lord. Take it away from us, Jesus. Father God, all power is in your Son's name. Take this stuff away from our home.
morning, killer storms.
And those storms are not over just yet. Cities torn apart after taking a direct hit from rare winter tornadoes. They're now bracing for more of the same.
Among the places hardest hit, Harrisburg, Illinois. 175-mile-an-hour winds, 2 football fields wide, left people dead. Homes were shredded, a strip mall flattened, entire buildings knocked off their foundations.
It's just unreal. It's like a war zone.
A somber Saturday morning as hundreds of thousands wake up to sheer devastation. This entire town's all gone, flattened in a flash. This massive storm spawned more tornadoes in one day than we usually see in an entire month.
Here's what we know right now. At least 29 people dead. The second round of killer tornadoes just this week.
95 tornadoes ripped through yesterday. If those are all confirmed reports, this would be the greatest tornado day, one-day event in March for all history.
From a series of powerful earthquakes sending shockwaves through Japan.
That is the same area that was struck last year. There was a small tsunami in that area, and about 3 hours after that, another major earthquake.
But we will see continent-shattering earthquakes. We're seeing now too many anomalies, especially on the New Madrid. The rest of the world is coming apart at the seams.
Clintonville, Wisconsin residents say their homes rattled after explosion-like noises woke them up last night. And city leaders are still trying to figure out just what caused it all. Police phone lines were jammed with calls from a 13-block area. Callers reported not just hearing loud booms, but rumbling in the ground that shook them right out of their homes.
It sounded like somebody was dropping bombs.
What we know from geologists down at UW-Madison is that this is clearly not consistent with earthquake activity.
People in this community won't stop coming up to us tonight, telling us that they're still hearing this loud boom tonight, and then they feel the ground shake just a little bit. Now, this boom isn't coming up from the sky, but rather it's coming from down below.
Aftershock shook Mexico City. It comes after a magnitude 7.6 earthquake struck 120 miles east of Acapulco.
There seems to be a systematic effort to downplay the earthquakes and especially their intensity. And we're now in the realm of lame excuses for everything. You know, it's amazing that people just seemingly take the word of the most pathetic investigative journalism that's ever been seen in the history of the world in the United States.
More rumblings in Clintonville early this morning.
And what's causing that?
Okay, some Clintonville residents, though, they're speculating, of course. The church's marquee reads, "God is shaking our city. Let's have a revival."
And tonight there are reports of more booming sounds 80 miles away. Police in Montello are now investigating similar sounds.
But so far, they don't have an explanation.
We have a lot of good, reliable sources that reported this pretty much community-wide, and, you know, at this point in time, it is quite the talk of the town. There's no doubt about it.
There was a loud boom, and all the windows shook, the whole house shook.
It felt like my front door was being, trying to be kicked in. My apartment was shaking.
For the third night in a row, unexplained ground shaking has leaders in Clintonville scratching their heads. In our big story, city officials remain at a loss over what this could be. Several theories have been ruled out, including water, other utilities, even an earthquake. The city isn't ordering any evacuations, but some say they are considering leaving town. The booms began early Monday morning, continued Tuesday morning, and came back once again early this morning.
People there are on edge. Police say they've received more than 500 calls about vibrations.
The ground is shaking in an unusual way. And what we're seeing is that these events continue one after another. The ground is shaking in an unusual way. The ground is shaking in an unusual way.
An effective system for verifying work eligibility so the businesses can better comply with the law. And then we'll be in a position to say if you don't comply with the law, you deserve to be punished. If we catch you cheating right now, you'll be punished. But we got to make it sure that small businesses and large businesses have got the capacity to verify whether a person's here legally or not. Congress needs to give federal agents the authority they need to enforce the law when job applicants submit fraudulent Social Security numbers. Congress needs to make it mandatory for employers to check information provided by job applicants against federal databases. Right now, that's voluntary. In other words, you get ready to hire somebody, you need to check against a federal database to make sure the numbers on the cards aren't forged or real. But what really Congress needs to do is to use a biometric technology to create a new tamper-proof identification card for every legal foreign worker. That's what we need. We need a tamper-proof card. It says, if you're here legally working, here's your card. And you got to show it. And the business owner has got to call for it. And if they hire somebody without the tamper-proof card, they're in violation of the law and will be fined. we've got to reduce the incentives for foreign workers to sneak across the border. That's what we agree on in Washington. If I were a Border Patrol agent, I'd be asking, what are you trying to do about the people trying to sneak in here to work? How come you don't have a temporary way for them to come work on the jobs Americans aren't doing? See, I believe that we need to understand that there are people coming across this border to put food on the table for their family, and they'll do anything to make it into America to do work. That's what you got to understand. A lot of people in Artesia, New Mexico know what I'm talking about. There are people coming to do work Americans aren't doing. They're working in the dairy farms.
A year of seeing all the cool projects, I decided to do it myself.
Now, can you see this little thing implanted in your skin?
Yeah, you can a little bit. You can kind of see it just underneath the skin there. It's you know, rare. I mean, some people that get them done, you can't see it. But
It looks just like a tiny little bump.
Yeah, just a little bump.
Do you have one of the chips there, Jennifer? Oh, there, I see. We see it now. Yeah, it's what, look, about a quarter of an inch, half an inch long?
Yeah, it's about you know, half an inch.
How many
cylinder there?
How many people have done this?
Well, since doing it in March, you know, there's been a small community around the world have cropped up. I'd guess anywhere between 30 and 50 people.
And what are the future applications of this? I mean, I presume it'll be able to do more things than just open your car door or your front door or log onto your computer.
Yeah, there's the common theme is access control, but some people are matching profiles to it. So you get in your front door, but then like a home automation system knows that it's you and sets lighting and music and that kind of preference.
And it's just, is it inserted under your skin with a needle?
Yeah, the left hand was done with a scalpel actually, and it was just placed under by a cosmetic surgeon. Right hand was done with the same needle injector that's used on pets actually.
So Jennifer, he can open your front door and you can open his front door, and the same thing with cars and computers. What happens if the two of you break up?
Well, actually, a lot of people ask that. The thing is, I really like the projects for my own purposes. He likes it for his own purpose. If we wanted to, we could take each other's numbers out of each other's systems, so in that way it'd be really easy. But we both find function in it right now. So.
This is something for the future. I can say, you know, how does a couple commit to one another? Well, I'll put you on my front door in my microchip. I suppose there will be a lot of future applications. Maybe we'll all have one of these under our skins in time.
Health care reform, but another controversial issue, immigration reform. And a key meeting at the White House tomorrow could be the first step toward that reform and for some very big changes for every American worker. Senators Chuck Schumer and Lindsey Graham, bipartisan that is, set to sit down with President Obama tomorrow, discussing plans for a national identification card.